Starvation, torture, murder, genocide, mechanics of death, all through the sky. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, feds and degenerates, cuckolds of all ages. It's time for Miles Culture Plate. I am your host, Miles Kevin Miles, and it is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. And woof, there's a race war going on out there. Give me just a moment. I'm trying to figure out how to fix something on my Rumble Studio. Okay, I've got it. Now how do I go back? Okay, there we go. I'm sorry. I'm still learning the new Canvas settings on Rumble Studio, trying to get it working. Yeah. How's the race war going, folks? I tease because, in my real life, I don't deal with this stuff. But everything that's been going on social media the past couple days since the verdict of the Carmelo Anthony trial was read, you would be led to believe that this country is in a full blown racial civil war, and with good reason. I mean, there have been people with a lot of bad takes, and we're going to cover some of those on the show today. Trying to find. Trying to just do some UI fixes here. All right, let me check something real quick. That's weird. Okay. Hey, there we go. All right. So come on in. I'm trying to give people a couple minutes to come in, but I don't think anyone is going to, because right now my schedule's all out of whack. The pop-out chat's not working. I don't see anyone in the chat, and it's not showing any viewers other than myself. So let's get into the news, shall we? Screen share. Boom. Nope. This one. Yeah. Uh-oh. What happened? There it is. Teens' reading and math scores have stagnated, U.S. test results show. This is from ABC News. We got Annie Ma and Sharon Lurie, AP education writers. Younger students have regained ground academically after the pandemic's disruptions, while older students' test scores continue to stagnate, according to latest testing data released by the federal government. 9-year-olds rebounded to pre-pandemic reading scores and saw some recovery in math, according to the data from a test taken regularly in the United States since the 1970s. The same recovery has not emerged for 13-year-olds, whose average scores in math and reading remain below pre-pandemic averages. In fact, the latest test reading scores from teens who took the test in 2024 are essentially the same level as they were when the test started in 1971. Since the pandemic, schools and policymakers have focused on overhauling instruction for elementary students, especially in implementing the science of reading, which teaches kids to read by understanding how letters form sounds. But recent test scores show that educators should also focus more intensely on adolescent learners and turning around academic outcomes in middle school, said Leslie Muldoon, executive director of the National Assessment Governing Board. 13-year-olds who took the national test experienced in the pandemic's disruption during formative elementary years of schooling. In a few years, they will have graduated and may still be behind. The 13-year-olds who took this assessment last year are headed to high school now or already enrolled. Schools won't have them much longer. Can't hesitate or wait to turn these trends around, she said. Typically given every 4 years, the long term trends assessment offers a snapshot into the academic skills of American students aged 9 and 13. Roughly 31,000 students in public and private schools sat for the test in 2024-2025. Unlike the main nation's report card test for 4th and 8th graders, which is updated regularly with new skills to reflect changing curriculum, the long term test has stayed largely the same since the 70s. Academic achievement was already declining when the pandemic hit. Test scores peaked around 2012, then started to fall, said Matthew Soldner, acting commissioner of the National Center for Educational Statistics. We can clearly see this isn't just a pandemic story, he said. Test results show that younger kids are improving foundational skills, such as identifying facts into a simple news article or understanding basic multiplication and division. 71% of 9-year-olds reach the benchmark in reading, and 84% reach that level in math, a few percentage points higher than 2022. Are we live on Rumble? I'm assuming so. You know what? I don't think we are. Yeah, we are. There we go. Could pop out the chat there, but then it wouldn't be the combined chat. Anyway, the chat should be showing up on screen eventually when people start to chat. You know what? Let me give a test of that. There we go. Yeah, we got locals, Twitch, YouTube. All right. Teenagers tested on more advanced skills, making generalizations from a reading passage and comparing information from charts and graphs. Only 58% met the benchmark skill level in reading and 70% in math, with no statistically significant improvement from 2023. Compounding the issue of stagnant literacy rates, fewer students than ever are reading for fun. Students who took the test also completed a survey. Only 14% of 13-year-olds said they read for fun every day, down from 27% in 2012 and a peak of 37% in 1992. Among 9-year-olds, 37% said they read for fun every day, a significant decline from 53% in 2012. Researchers have noted that it corresponds with the rise of social media use on cell phones. Be careful giving your kids a phone, people. Younger children have shown incredibly encouraging recovery academically in recent years. Almost 50 years of progress has been eliminated for 13-year-olds. 13-year-olds who took the most recent test would have been second or third grade during the first year of the pandemic. They would have returned to in-person learning in 4th or 5th grade and taken this national test in the last year or two of middle school. Man, it's hard to believe it's already been, 6 years? 6.5 years, really, because it kicked off in February. Not quite 6.5, but we're approaching that benchmark of 6.5, and we're approaching it fast. But yeah, it's been 6.25 years since the first lockdown. And for a child who's 13, yeah, they would have been right there in the first few years of school. In contrast, the 9-year-old group would have been entering kindergarten or the first grade as the pandemic's most acute phase ended and schools reopened. Their second and third grade years would have been more reflective of typical in-person teaching. So those experiences are dramatically different. Soldner said the older group would have missed foundational years in building literacy and computational skills. COVID has made our children illiterate. Thank you, ABC News. Let's go over to CNN. As Bill Gates tells Congress that Jeffrey Epstein tried to use information about his infidelities to get close to him. From CNN's Annie Grayler, MJ Lee, and Andrew Kaczynski. Gates told members of the House Oversight Committee that he had no knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and that Epstein attempted to use information about his personal life, including that he'd been unfaithful in his marriage, to pressure him, according to a copy of his opening remarks obtained by CNN. I've never witnessed or had any indication that Epstein was engaged in ongoing criminal conduct. I never went to his island, his ranch, or his Florida home. I have never victimized anyone. While he may have sought to foster a personal relationship, I was never interested in that and never reciprocated, Gates said. I learned Epstein had become aware of sensitive information about my personal life, including the fact that I'd been unfaithful in my marriage. Those affairs had nothing to do with my interactions with Epstein, but they were painful for my family. Gates said that he was introduced to Epstein in 2011 and that the late convicted sex offender promised that he could raise billions of dollars for global health. Quote, I recall being aware that Epstein had faced prior legal issues, but I did not fully understand the extent of the crimes he committed. I accepted the introduction without applying the scrutiny I should have, he told lawmakers. Gates characterizes interactions with Epstein as limited. Bullshit. Bullshit. He admitted that he knew of Epstein's reputation. He admitted that he knew he'd been convicted of sexual crimes, but ultimately in his words, he viewed this narrow relationship as being an acceptable means of access to wealthy donors. Democrat Melanie Stanberry said of Gates's testimony. He also alleged in his testimony that Epstein tried to use what he knew about his infidelities, quote, in addition to many lies that he layered on top to pressure him to re-engage with him after contact had ended. He was unsuccessful in this effort, but it shows some of the ways he tried to leverage his interactions with me to further his agenda. I should never have met with Epstein in the first place, Gates said, according to his remarks. Oh, so this is the public narrative on Epstein, is that he was skilled in blackmail, right? And this is Bill Gates trying to use that media boogeyman. But here's the thing. If any of the blackmail is true, and I believe it is, why wouldn't he literally just use the blackmail if Gates didn't play along? Oh, yeah, because maybe Gates played along. Maybe Gates was a part in it. Maybe. Again, that might be for a future jury to decide. Testimony behind closed doors comes after the release of the Epstein files this year raised questions about his ties to the sex offender. Marking the committee's 15th interview, Gates' in-person appearance on Capitol Hill was one of the most high-profile appearances before the congressional investigators to date. After hours behind closed doors, he departed through a throng of reporters and protesters. He didn't answer the shouted questions from members of the media, but later said in a statement that he, quote, appreciated the opportunity to meet with the House Oversight Committee and answer all of their questions. I support the release of all the files and hope my participation contributes to getting justice for the victims. Fucking scummy. Oversight Chair James Comer told CNN ahead of Gates' appearances that there were no limitations in terms of scope for the interview. Anything's on the table. Gates may not be eager to testify. He is willing to speak. At one point during the questioning, Gates' lawyer told lawmakers that the billionaire would not answer questions about his extramarital affairs that are not related to the Epstein case. Robert Garcia, top Democrat on the panel, characterized Gates as being a little combative, but ultimately cooperative. He's pushing back on certain things. I think you'll see in the transcript, but he's answering the questions. So apparently there's going to be a transcript at some point. I'm not going to read this whole dang thing, but let's see. He told Anderson Cooper in 2021 that it was a huge mistake to spend time with him. I was only at dinners. I never went to the island, never met any women. And, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although that time it was a mistake, I had nothing to do with that kind of behavior. That was 9 News in February. So, yeah, we saw the whole email he's talking about there. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. We're not getting an audience. Fox News. Charlotte train stabbing suspect dodges a potential death penalty for now after he's ruled incompetent. DeCarlo Brown Jr. is fatally charged with fatally stabbing Irina Zarutska, 23, aboard the Lynx Blue Line in August of 2025 in Charlotte. The man accused of killing a young woman on a North Carolina light rail train has been deemed incompetent to stand trial in his federal case. Now, you may be thinking, yeah, Mild, you covered this a few weeks back. No, that was the state case. This is the federal case. DeCarlo Brown Jr., 34, charged in the fatal stabbing of Irina Zarutska. In Tuesday's brief hearing, which lasted approximately 15 minutes, Brown had a few outbursts, yelling that he would be pressing charges. He's expected to be committed to a special facility under the direction of the U.S. Attorney General for treatment aimed at restoring competency. If he's later found competent, the federal case could resume with the death penalty on the table. Let me be clear, he will be in custody that whole time. Mr. Brown is in federal custody now and will remain in federal custody until the trial, Russ Ferguson, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, said following the hearing. For us, our number one goal here is justice for Irina and Irina's family. That's what's on the top of our minds and hearts every day. Brown could face the death penalty if the federal case proceeds. However, a defendant who's found incompetent cannot be tried or executed while incompetent. Ferguson explained that a doctor would be assigned to evaluate him. I'm very hopeful to have his capacity restored, he said. The doctor that examined him for the competency hearing today found his prognosis for restoration is very good, so I rely on the doctors here, and I think that his prognosis is good, and we will see him stand trial. Brown was federally indicted on a charge of committing an act of violence against a railroad carrier and mass transportation system resulting in death. The hearing comes after Bureau of Prisons evaluation also found on May 7th that Brown was incompetent to stand trial for state charges. Here we go. That's the story I was just referring to from a few weeks back. The finding followed what officials described as a lengthy process that included interviews and a review of medical records. Brown, a parolee with multiple documented run ins with the law, has a long reported history of mental illness, according to family members. By March of 2024, authorities had logged 6 prior encounters with Brown, including multiple welfare checks triggered by his repeated 911 calls, according to New York Times. A year later, Brown called 911 from Novant Presbyterian Hospital saying he needed help removing a man-made material that he claimed was controlling him. When officers arrived on scene, they reportedly told him they were unable to help. In a jailhouse phone call to his sister made days after Zarutska's killing, Brown made similar claims regarding man-made material controlling his mind. Brown said he did not understand why he stabbed her, claimed the government had implanted materials in his brain that were controlling his actions. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened, Brown said. Whoever was working the materials, they lashed out on her. That's all there is to it. Now they really got to investigate what my body was exposed to. Now they got to do an investigation to who was the motive behind what happened. Brown is accused of murdering Zarutska on the Charlotte train. Surveillance video shows Zarutska entering the train car. Yeah, we know that. Pulled a knife, stabbed her 3 times from behind before departing the train. Again, justice for Irina can't come soon enough. So hopefully the doctors can work their magic and get this man in front of a court. All right. So we had that story, and obviously we have the main news story of the week that both involve the word in the video title today: stabbing. And before we begin, both of these cases have taken on a very race war vibe with good reason. There is a racial component to both of these senseless killings. And it's not a white people thing. Nobody deserves to have insane people with knives on the subway or on a rail car, on a light rail, stabbing them from behind with no help. Nobody deserves whatever the heck happened in Texas. We'll get into that here in a little bit. I am a huge supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm a huge supporter of concealed carry. And I'm very comfortable living in a society where people have weapons and defend themselves. Part of the problem I have with these two cases is we have had a huge propaganda effort to get people to disarm themselves at schools and on public transit. These are two places where we've been told weapons are not allowed. And yet, here we have two people who clearly did not follow that rule. And so, racial component or not, self defense, whatever, because let's be honest, Carmelo Anthony tried to say he acted in self defense. For me, it's tough considering you had a knife in your bag, you went to the knife at the first sign of trouble. I'm not saying you have to necessarily sit there and take an ass beating, but there is an element of premeditation. Like you expected shit to pop off, and it made you less likely to de escalate. Anyway, Carmelo Anthony sentenced to 35 years in prison. Let's get into the story. Carmelo Anthony is placed in isolation at Texas prison after the conviction in Austin Metcalf's murder. 19-year-old sentenced to 35 years in prison on Tuesday is being kept in a more secure area of the Collin County Jail in Texas, away from the general inmate population, as authorities at the prison look to ensure the safety and security of all inmates. Mr. Anthony's in custody. He's not housed in general inmate population. Anthony, who was found guilty in stabbing Austin Metcalf at a track meet, will ultimately move to a state prison to serve his sentence, although no exact date is given for the transfer from county. A jury in McKinney, Texas took just 3 hours to convict Anthony of murder after the teen claimed that he'd acted in self defense, despite Metcalf being unarmed while his killer had a knife. Anthony walked into a rival's high school tent before getting into an altercation with Metcalf, and Anthony fatally stabbing the teen. The force of the attack left a large gaping wound piercing Metcalf's heart, according to an emotional testimony from Collin County Medical Examiner Elizabeth Ventura. He was 17 at the time of the murder. Anthony was able to be charged as an adult under Texas law. Because of his age, he is too young to face the death penalty. Civil rights group advocated for Anthony complained that none of his jurors were black. Judge Roach had allowed them to consider manslaughter charges, which would have carried a sentence of up to 20 years, but he was found guilty of murder. We've got some bad takes. We've got a lot of bad takes about this story and a lot of angles and a lot of aftermath that I want to talk about. Go ahead and remove that for now. First off, there has been a certain amount of cries of injustice in the black community. For them, this was sort of their Kyle Rittenhouse moment, in which a young man in over his head, seemingly attacked, defended himself against superior numbers and had to answer for it in court. That was the narrative being spread on social media, in certain spaces on the internet, and it was a clear, open and shut case that this young African American man was harassed by two bullies at a track meet who were trying to push him out of a sheltered area and into the rain, and he defended himself. That narrative fell apart in court. And now it's, oh, the jury didn't have any black people on it. Even though the jury had other minorities, even though there were several African Americans who testified on behalf of the prosecution, who basically said that, yes, he was antagonizing the Metcalf brothers. And that he was braggadociously, reaching into his bag saying, things like, what are you going to do about it? And so the fact that this narrative persists online, to me, is a willingness to believe. There were certain things about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial that a lot of people had incorrect. There were things about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial that I assumed were correct, and I was spreading on social media and arguing with people about. Ultimately, the things that I thought were correct and wound up being incorrect were things like he brought the gun across the state line. Like I was like, okay, yeah, well, it doesn't matter because this, and this. But it turns out he did not bring the gun across the state line. So we get very emotional when we can identify with a protagonist in a situation like this, when we see ourselves in a story. And let me be completely honest, I can see myself in Carmelo Anthony's place. I truly believe that, yes, maybe they were bullying him. There may have been a history of bullying happening between these young men. There were times in my youth that I stood up to bullies, and there were times in my youth I wish I had a weapon to strike back at the bullies. But if I had done that now, 30 years later, if I had done that, I would have deserved to go to prison. I would have deserved to be locked up. I would have deserved to be punished. And I just want to say there was a situation where I took a knife to school because I thought I needed it to defend myself. I was caught and suspended from school. It was a big no-no. Hang on real quick. Let me close my office door because I'm picking up some background sound in my microphone. Okay. So, I can safely say that I have empathy for this young man, and it's sad that it's going to take 35 years of his life away. Even though I expect him to do maybe 20 years of this. Nobody serves a full sentence in 2026, right? In modern America, nobody serves a full sentence. That just doesn't happen anymore. Let me see here. There we go. Sorry, every time I moused over, it was showing me my dang theme song. Which, by the way, I've reverted back to the old theme song, the 2 minute version versus the 5 minute version. Most of that's just because all my files on my computer got all messed around, and I can't find the new one now. All right, let's do this. Move that over. So anyway, there's bad takes galore all over the internet, and we're going to get into a bunch of them. Let's start with America's Congresswoman. You know her, you love her. She's no longer going to be a congresswoman after this year. Ladies and gentlemen, Jasmine Crockett with the take of the day.
If a 300-pound man is beating me, like on top of me and beating me down, I'm not limited to fist. I would argue that.
Okay, but you're a woman for one, and again, you're saying man. There's more to this. Anyway, let me go ahead and play the rest of her comments.
Even the only time we go into things like people's hands being considered deadly weapons is typically like if they're a professional boxer or that kind of stuff. But I think by the time you start getting to like football player, good argument. Good freaking argument. We not
This woman was an attorney. This woman was a defense attorney.
not talking about like the golfers. We're talking about football players, right? Like this is what they are trained to do, is to inflict like serious physical contact. And it's my understanding that the decedent was that.
My understanding that the decedent was a football player. And look, yeah, Austin Metcalf was a big boy, right? She's got a little bit of a point here, right? The standard for self-defense is a reasonable, justifiable fear of imminent death or bodily injury. The part where she said, if a man's on top of me beating me, I think that's an important part of this that's being missed in the translation. If Austin Metcalf had Carmelo Anthony on the ground punching him in the face repeatedly, Carmelo Anthony is struggling with one arm, trying to hold him back, and the other arm trying to reach for the knife, you'd have an argument. If he was getting punched in the head repeatedly and struggled to snatch his knife at the last minute while taking punch after punch to the face, getting bones broken in his face, yeah, there's a point there where I would give you self-defense. But someone taking your arm and asking you to leave, and you having the opportunity to leave, is not self-defense. America's Congresswoman went on to continue the bad take machine.
Was it a switch? I don't know what he had.
It was like it seemed like it was a multi-tool, almost like
you're going to comment on it anyway.
Yeah, like with the little.
I don't know what he had, but I'm going to comment on it anyway. So let's go back a second.
What he had.
It was like it seemed like it was a multi-tool, almost like a Swiss Army.
Like with like with the little scissors and everything and whatever. So it was small.
Hang on. I used to have a little Swiss Army knife in my desk here. And of course, I don't have it handy. Yeah, I don't have it handy. Of course, I don't have it handy. Let's hear the rest of this.
Well, I would argue the size of it alone, you wouldn't even think it's a deadly weapon.
And that's forgot he had to the bag.
If it was one of the little, like I don't know, like
I don't know.
Well, that's why he went to his coach and was like, but I don't think I hurt him that bad.
Was it a switch?
Okay, so here I found it. Here's my I got from the Las Vegas souvenir shop. Okay. She thinks it was a Swiss Army knife with the scissors. This is Swiss Army knife with the scissors. Where's the dang scissors? There they are. Okay, scissors. Right? She thinks it's this. She thinks it's this little thing. Right? I want to show you something. Here's a paper plate. You see that? That deep in your heart. That deep in your heart. I wouldn't even consider that a weapon, she said. I wouldn't consider that a weapon. That deep in your heart. Now, here's the other part. When she says she didn't even know, well, thankfully, New York Post. New York Post has the facts. Knife that Carmelo Anthony used to kill Austin Metcalf was a $13 Walmart blade with a flashlight. Now, again, she said it was a multi-tool, and you just saw me using this little thing. Okay? Now, I don't know. There's no banana for scale here, right? I don't know if that's much bigger than this, but that's clearly bigger than this. You could tell by the handle. You could tell by the little finger press thing that locks it back down. Wonder if it has a scale here. No, it doesn't have a scale. Bottle opener, glass breaker, cord cutter. So it's a survival multi-tool, not a little screwdriver, scissor BS thing. Cheers, Sanglant. Good seeing you in the chat. Thank you for stopping by, my friend. Sanglant says, sounds like a 3.5-inch blade. I think that's what I heard in the testimony. The knife, Walmart tool with serrated blade, and it sells just for $13. Anthony's knife came from the Walmart camping brand Ozark Trail. Yes, 3.5-inch blade. Collin County District Attorney. 6-in-1 multi-tool equipped with a flashlight and glass breaker. Ideal for someone who hunts, camps, or travels. So yes, this thing is meant to slice meat. Hey, Conspiracy Music, good seeing you. Cheers and welcome. I'll play you guys some sound effects here in a moment. Yeah, big enough. And again, even if it was this little thing, like I was showing you with the paper plate, that far into your heart. That's not 3.5 inches, but that's deep enough to go into your heart. But again, it's the idea that this isn't a weapon or couldn't be considered a weapon or couldn't be used as a weapon is ridiculous. And Jasmine Crockett is literally doing what she always does and is playing for the social media repost, right? She's trying to keep her name in the news because she knows she's screwed. The blade was more than enough to kill 17-year-old Austin, a 200-pound football player. Now, she said 300-pound in that clip, remember? Let's go back to that.
If a 300-pound man is beating me.
Uh-huh. If a 300-pound man is beating her. Austin Metcalf was 200 pounds, not 300. Blade of that size is legal to carry in Texas, but not allowed on the grounds of the Frisco school where the stabbing happened. So this takes me back to what I was ranting about earlier, is we've created all these areas in society where self-defense is illegal, where it is illegal to carry a weapon, or it's prohibited by the owner of the property, whether it be a light rail train in Charlotte or school grounds in Texas. We go into these places where weapons aren't allowed, assuming that we're safe. Yes, Anglade, victim disarmament zones. And then when these things happen, we're supposed to believe they're self-defense things. The knife was discarded by Anthony after he left the scene of the stabbing, with Frisco Police Department resource officer Jacob Shawls finding it halfway open. A detail Shawls testified could have been the reason why Anthony had a cut on his finger when he was arrested. He couldn't get the thing shut. See the little finger thing right here? He couldn't get that thing squeezed and shut. He couldn't figure it out. Cookie, any white supremacist in this chat or on the stream, just asking. I don't consider myself a white supremacist, no. But I am white. And I do see race as a reality. I do see differences in the races. Whether one is more supreme or another in any sort of area, you know, we're not the same. We're not equal. But supreme, what do you mean by supremacist? I'm not talking about you. Okay. Probably overextended and got stuck on the wrong side of the blade. Maybe it probably could have hit like the sternum or the rib or something. And yeah, got twisted open. Because, I mean, let's be honest. It's a crappy $13 Walmart knife. You can't expect it to be sturdy. Detail. Okay. How quickly the stabbing could have happened, with Shawls even demonstrating how the knife could be opened with a single flick. Austin's heart was pierced in the attack and he was unconscious by the time authorities reached him. The killing went down during a track meet at Memorial High School, where Austin and his brother confronted Anthony about sitting in his team's tent and told him to leave. Anthony repeatedly refused and eventually dared Austin, touch me and find out. Austin then shoved Anthony, who whipped out the blade and stabbed. The killing landed Anthony with first-degree murder conviction, 35-year prison sentence. Ricky says, the stabbing case is different from Chow shooting a boy in the back. The racist in South Carolina said not guilty. Yeah. Here's Carmelo Anthony's grandmother from Nick Sorter's X feed. Prejudice, racist, bias. Prejudice, racist, bias. Again, she's referring to the fact that the jury was not African American. There were no African Americans on the jury. Let's see. I've got some of my links here. A little out of order here. I got to rearrange them. Here are more protesters. Now, before I play this next one, I'm not sure. Yes, conspiracy. Smash that like button. Yeah, please. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to grow my channel, but hey, it helps people find it, and it's better than talking to myself. So yes, thanks. Smash that like button. Love you. Oh yeah, man. I'm behind. I need to go do the. Let's go do some sound effects here. Gonna give Cookie the.
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. So we have.
All right, then let's do. Wow, it seems louder on the new Rumble thing. I might have to adjust these if there's a way to. Yeah, these are super loud. I might have to stop this one after playing it because this one was loud before.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no, no. Hell.
Okay, there we go. All right, so yeah, this one's for Clay.
You're talking to my guy all wrong. It's the wrong tone. Do it again, I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
All right, let me go back to the chat here. Hey, we've got Dear Sarge. Haven't caught you in a while. Yeah, I there were like 3 weeks I didn't even do a stream, so that's with good reason. And my schedule. I used to never stream in the 7 o'clock hour, except for if I went over. All right, let's do one more now that Dear Sarge is in the stream. Let's give it a. But the people are retarded.
But the people are retarded.
All right, go back to the chat. Unpin. All right. So before I play this next clip, I do have to give a disclaimer. I do know that there was a counter protester at some point on one of the 2 days. I don't know if that's what this guy is reacting to, but there was a counter protester who was an African man carrying around a sign that said "White Lives Matter." So I don't know if that's what this guy's reacting to or not, but let's hear what this guy has to say.
My life don't matter. Fuck white lives. I'm not that. I'm saying that. Because y'all want to play these games. Y'all want to play these crackhead games, so I'm going to play them. Fuck white lives. How about that? How about that? I hate white people. I like pussy. The monkey, the black man, redneck pussy. That's what I hate. Yeah, I'm right.
We're right smack in the middle of it, Sarge. You did miss the conversation about the knife. So again, people are heated, saying racist things back and forth. Here's a person on a bicycle doing a live stream. And let's see this lovely behavior. Oh look, just a random person minding their own business, sitting on a sidewalk against a pole.
Hey, wasn't you on jury selection?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Seriously.
Weren't you on jury selection? And punches him in the head.
He was on jury selection.
He's a vet, dude. He's a vet. He's a vet. He ain't been on jury selection.
I ain't worried about that.
Fuck you.
You gonna die.
Quit, dude.
You on jury? What?
I ought to gut you right here and you're gonna die. Okay, so yeah.
You on jury?
No, he wasn't.
You on jury selection?
And he's bleeding from the face.
You was on jury selection?
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
No, he wasn't.
Not for Anthony. Not for Carmelo Anthony. Oh. All right, my B. I thought you was on jurisdiction for my B.
Apologize, my B. My B.
Man,
that's an apology. That's sorry.
Well.
Not to mention, there's no apology good enough for punching somebody in the face over some bullshit. More protesters and counter-protesters outside the scene of the courthouse.
Yeah, that guy did some softness. Who softened somebody?
Okay, this wasn't the video I thought it was. Okay, yeah, this guy. Oh, yeah, this isn't the video I thought it was. I need to find. Here
with a man, and we see that. But you're not gonna do shit with a man. I'm not gonna do shit with anybody. That's weak. Fuckhead. That's weak.
This guy on the right was antagonizing this guy all day.
You cannot do shit with a man. We see that. You're not gonna do shit with a man, and we see that. But you're not gonna do shit with a man. I'm not gonna do shit with anybody. That's weak.
All right, let's go ahead and bring that down. Let me see. I think there's some more somewhere. Oh, no, that's not it. Jesus. people playing racist shit on Twitter. So yeah, that wasn't it. So yeah, apparently so the first video I played there was him finally getting arrested for harassment. What the heck? Must have accidentally clicked open a new tab or something. You have people on Twitter posting shit like this, and ignore the racist cartoon at the bottom. Stop sending your kids to these white schools. So we've reached full circle in race relations in America, to where we now are advocating segregated schools again, where the black folk are now advocating segregated schools. Cookie says, too exhausted to keep up the show. Oh, I'm sorry about that. He also says, what was done to black? Why was Black Wall Street bombed? Well, I mean, yeah, nobody's denying shit that happened back then. We're talking about 2026. Black Wall Street's not being bombed in 2026. And this person here wants schools to be segregated. Okay, one last protester we're going to get into, and that's Austin Metcalf's father. Now, look, I've given Austin Metcalf's father some shit on this show before because, like, he was very quick to throw out the "I forgive you" thing, right? I don't think in 2026 we should be forgiving monsters. Now, look, I'm trying to be a better Christian, and forgiveness is part of that. But I mean, there's some lines you don't cross. And you know, when you can't forgive monsters. All right, so let's hear what the father had to say.
Protests erupting outside of a Texas courthouse after 19-year-old Carmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at that 2025 high school track meet. Now, following the sentence, Metcalf's father delivered an emotional statement to Anthony. "We were robbed. This was never about race. It is about right and wrong. My son's death destroyed the person I used to be. He does not exist anymore. You're going to prison. I forgave you the day it happened. I don't forgive you. Don't forgive what you did. You can't look at me in the eyes, but you can stab my effing son." Let's bring in Fox News.
Okay, so there's that. You can't look me in the eyes, but you can stab my effing son. This is why you don't forgive, right? So known internet troll and race baiter Elijah Schaffer has made a trip down there. And there has been some ensuing hilariousness as Carmelo Anthony's family is still trying to fundraise, by the way. Still trying to fundraise. And now the appeal has been filed, by the way, appealing for racial bias of the jury and appealing because of ineffectual counsel, even though they raised, $600,000 for the legal defense that they proceeded to spend on fancy houses and cars, and then claimed destitution and therefore in need of a public defender. And they're still trying to fundraise. And as such, they held a free Carmelo picnic that Elijah Schaffer decided to crash to ask some questions.
Free Carmelo. You guys support Carmelo? Yes? Yes? We're just here with press just to record and talk to you guys or see what's going on. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's a free country. You're in public. You're in public. Okay. Okay. Well, you're in public. I'm just asking. Yeah.
Oh, it's the fuck white lives guy. It's the fuck white lives guy. He's with the family.
Whoa.
Hey, move the camera, bro. They don't want to.
It's free speech. It's free speech.
I mean, you're in a public park. It looks like you're in a public park. Now it might be private property, but it looks like a public park to me. Cameras are allowed in public.
Why are you throwing stuff at us? Yeah, why are you throwing stuff at us? What the hell is that? All right, well, they're throwing water bottles at us while we're recording. By the way, there's signs right here that says, self-defense is not a crime. Carmelo Anthony should do no time. And there's also this sign right here says, hands off. And this sign says, we stand with you. I believe this is about Carmelo as well.
Oh, wow.
And you'll see a picture right here of Carmelo Anthony. These are pictures probably from his Instagram. Self-defense is not a crime. So that's basically with the tensions being high here. You can see, I mean, we're not here to support anybody, but we're already having things thrown at us. Well, we don't have to do that.
Angry and upset. It's family members over there. So
Those are family members.
You're agitated.
Okay, cool. We'll come back. Yeah, you're good. All right, well, we don't have to go, but basically what you see here, the same problem you're going to see completely every single time is that people who support Carmelo kind of know he's guilty and he's going to go to prison. I would be kind of upset.
Okay. And so Elijah Schaefer posted this with the caption. Well, here, let's play the other video. There's another Elijah Schaefer video. Let's play this one.
We just got back from the Carmelo Anthony sentencing out in front of the Cullen County Courthouse. And if you notice in the video below, I actually approached the tent of Carmelo Anthony's
Okay, so this was at the courthouse. So that was a public parking lot.
Family friends, just to ask him a question. Not even to invade their space, just to ask him a question.
Listen to this shit.
When I walked up, they immediately got violent. And I don't mean just like they were yelling. Yeah, they were flipping us off, giving us the bird, telling us, threats. But they actually threw objects at us. They actually threw an object that hit my producer. That's assault, by the way. And they tried to throw a water bottle at me. You can watch the video and it missed. What's crazy is so Carmelo Anthony is somebody who was in somebody else's tent. He was asked to leave. And then he killed Austin Metcalf and got 35 years. But his family doesn't see the irony of me, a guy, a reporter, walking up to their tent, them asking me to leave. And when I step away from their tent and I exit the tent, they proceed to assault me outside the tent. And even crazier, after being assaulted, guess what? I was carrying a firearm.
He didn't stab them. He didn't shoot them.
Law here
he didn't
in Texas.
Defend
so
himself.
I had a weapon that I could have defended myself. And some might even say, oh, wow, well, they got aggressive, threatened to kill me. They threw objects at me and my producer. That's assault.
The irony.
Well, under their own
irony
reasoning,
is insane.
They think I should have taken out my gun and shot every single one of their black asses.
Okay, now again, Elijah takes things too far. He's a fucking troll, but I do find it ironic that the very people who are saying you should have called authorities, you had no business telling someone to get out of your tent. I mean, the very people making that argument are throwing Elijah Schaefer out of their tent, not expecting him to stab them in the heart. All right, let's move on. There's there's a lawsuit in New York about license plates readers. I was going to cover that, but I'm not. I will do a quick story about New York City. Hopefully Cookie didn't leave. I think she did. Yeah. Because we're going to talk about New York's Knicks fans. There were several documented assaults happening on the streets of New York last night. Let's look at a couple of those. Because people were sore about a basketball game. They're trying to set the guy on fire. They're trying to rip his shirt off of him. his Spurs jersey because he dared be a fan of the San Antonio team and not the Knicks after the Knicks got their asses beat. Okay, so there's that. Let's remove that. Let's scroll a little more down the feed here. This guy's walking down the street with a Spurs shirt on. Looks like they've already ripped it, tried to rip it off of him. They've ripped the shit out of it. I would frame that. If I'm this guy, I frame that. And every time the Spurs win, I start tagging a bunch of Knicks fans. They're stomping a fucking jersey. And they're trying to light the damn jersey on fire. Okay, so there's that. Let's bring that down for a second. Let's scroll a little more on the feed.
I'm gonna get one of y'all.
I mean, it just continued to happen over and over again.
I'm gonna get one of y'all. Oh shit! Fuck!
They were hunting. They were out hunting Spurs fans. Don't go to New York. Don't travel to New York. It's not worth it. And if you go to New York, definitely don't go out at night. Where does the bike come in? I skipped it. Okay, apparently he just picked up a random bike. So yeah, somebody got their bike stolen in the middle of all this. All right. So again, back to that racist cartoon we saw earlier about the bike. All right. Go back. Here's another guy. This one got sort of brutal here. Oh, in fact, this is the second half. I'm going to have to find the first half, but this is the second half. They beat him so bad that they eventually forced him to take it off. All right, let's bring that down. This is the second half because I saw another video with that guy. Yeah, I think this is it here. Maybe. No, this is something entirely different. This is a full-blown fight. And this looks like all Knicks fans. Was someone flashing money?
I got my name in the city right now, yo. I got my name in the city right now. We fought for the
Okay, let's bring that down. Yeah, and I agree, Sarge, that sports stuff brings out the worst in people. Where it was. I mean, they were, like I said, they were. Yeah, police should use these videos and prosecute all involved. Yeah, but you know they're going to use the excuse that the NYPD is overworked and understaffed, and they couldn't possibly. Oh, look, this guy's got a luchador mask on. Insanity. So again, another place you expect, you go on the street, you go to a sports stadium or you go on the streets for a watch party, you don't expect to need your self-defense. But again, it's New York. You're not allowed to have your self-defense. One last story here. Ohio festival shooting suspect glares in a past mug shot and remains on the lam after 12 people are injured. Police in Ohio Wednesday are hunting a 20-year-old man in connection with a shooting at a street festival over the weekend. They released his mugshot. He's wanted on 11 counts of felonious assault following a mass shooting at the Old West End Festival Saturday, and police in Toledo announced. Cops also released a surveillance grab of a second unidentified male suspect dressed in black who's alleged to be involved. Here's your suspect. You're in Toledo, Ohio. Turn this guy over. Several people of interest have been brought in for interviews, with investigators executing multiple search warrants, but no arrests made. Shooting broke out after two groups were disrespecting each other and led into a little bit of a foot chase. One individual assaulted another. At that point, one person pulled out a firearm and started shooting. Someone from the rival group pulled out his firearm and returned fire. 3 of the 12 people shot were involved in the altercation, while the rest were innocent bystanders. Information with Taylor's whereabouts should call Crime Stoppers anonymously at 419-255-1111. A reward of $10,000 has been offered by police for information leading to the suspect's arrest. An additional $5,000 has been awarded by the U.S. Marshals. Victims ranging in age from teenagers to in their 60s were all expected to make a recovery. All but 3 of the wounded were released from the hospital. I'm assuming those 3 were the 3 that were involved in the altercation. Sarge, 30 plus years ago, if the Bulls won riots, if the Bulls lost riots, basically every time the Bulls played, the Thugs were getting free Nikes and TVs. Yeah. We saw strangers who were shocked and frightened by the violence they just saw. They jumped into actions. They helped others by placing tourniquets, dressing wounds, applying pressure, and comforting those victims until help could arrive. It's sad. I mean, again, these monsters need taken out of society. You're going to be violent. You need to be taken out of society. And I'm not necessarily talking about violently. I'm talking about the justice system. And if the justice system is not going to work, then we need a new justice system. All right, let's go find a Love Don't Judge. I didn't have one pre-canned yet, so let's do the Love Don't Judge. What is that? Oh, no. I usually go a little further back in the timeline, but this caught my eye, and we got to do it. We got to do this. Oh, my. So we, here at Miles Culture Plate, we like to end the show on a little lighthearted note by taking a look at unique relationships. There's a show on YouTube called Love Don't Judge, where people have received a lot of online criticism for their relationships. And we here at Miles Culture Plate like to just kind of watch along and see if they might deserve some of the admonishment that they get in the segment we call Love Does Admonish. And here is Love Don't Judge. Trolls say I can't please my girlfriend. I have giant hands.
Who said that I can't please my woman? Some of the comments, the Incredible
Dear
Hulk,
Lord,
top booner
this
of 2026.
Tell me this
I'm
is
just
fucking
with
AI.
him because of his money. When I told my friends about him, yeah, they were very hesitant.
Mark
Look-
is very different. I was like, so
Look, medical conditions happen. I don't know what's going on here. I can't even. Like, this feels fake. This looks fake. On the one hand, I don't want to believe this is real. I feel so sorry for this guy. This is crazy.
shocked. And I'm not expecting for you to fall in love with him.
We first met online. She added me on my Facebook. At first, I was surprised.
I feel so sorry for this dude.
You know, gorgeous.
He seems like he's got his shit
We
together,
started
though.
to chat.
At first, I didn't think that, his photos are real.
Yeah,
If
I don't think
it was like edited or not, but I found him
that's a hell of a
attractive.
condition to have.
Yeah, we're reading some of the comments that I get on my content. I bet
he don't.
He missed his calling to be a pimp. Smack you with my pimp hand. What was that character from the Jay and Silent Bob movie, Cockknocker? With the giant fist.
Has a girl. Obviously, I have a girl. Very beautiful girl. Hey. Some of the comments were referring me as Hulk, like the Incredible Hulk.
He's got
Top
one
booner
semi-normal
of
finger in the middle of all that.
2026.
Most of the judgment was like that I'm just
Is this
with
genetic?
him because of his money.
You know, in reality, I don't really have that much. They think that I wouldn't be a great father. I'm just someone that would make life harder for Jelly because Jelly would have to focus on taking care of me. When in reality, I'm the one taking care of her all the time. I think they were thinking
She gave
that,
him a dirty look.
you know, I have like a caregiver. Someone always helps me put on my clothes, even eating, going to the restroom. They think I'm rich or they think I have a lot of money because there's always someone there to help me out. I've always been judged about my hands, but for some reason, I always have like a positive mindset. I can't do anything
I'm
about
glad
my
to hear
hand.
that.
It is what it is. I get a lot of judgment growing up.
I just want to just put a shout out because, when we started doing this, there was a motto we took on here at Mild Culture Plate, and that's outlast the haters. You got to outlast the haters, and that's what this guy seems to be doing. He's not letting this shit get him down. And look, I gave a depressing as fuck rant last week on the show where I was pretty depressed about my own medical situation. And look, this guy's got it, man. You can't let it get you down. I had some family members who had some pretty depressing medical situations, and they let it get to them. And I watched their quality of life deteriorate, mostly because of like just simple self-esteem issues. This guy's got the right attitude. Fucking press through the shit. Do what you can do. Be a man.
New PD as if I can, do anything better in my life because of, my condition.
Look, man, he's got
I
a
just
cutting
proved
board.
them wrong.
He's gonna make
living my life to the fullest.
For 4 years now, going 5 years, I'm really here with him because I love him.
She didn't really ask about my condition or what happened to my hands. I think that's what I like about her. I have a condition called macrodactyly. It's a rare condition. I was told by a doctor that it's 1 in 10 million case. Having these hands as big as it is, being able to use it as part of my brand or part of me being able to inspire others as well. I think it's a blessing for me. I was born with this condition. When I was a child, it wasn't this big, but it's the same as how it looks. And yeah, it can be really hard because I mean, right now it weighs almost 7 kilos on my left hand. On my right hand, almost 2 kilos.
So that's
I've
why
had
he's all buff in the
heartbreaks
upper arm.
where
He's
I
lifting
liked
that shit all
someone
day, every
and they
day.
wouldn't like me back because of my hands. And but yeah, I didn't give up and not focusing on what I cannot change. And yeah, that's when I met Jelly.
When I told my friends about him, they were kind of shocked. They were very hesitant.
Jella and
I
I
mean,
are besties.
are you guys
Since
thinking
high
what I'm
school,
thinking?
We've been through a lot. At first, when I saw Mark,
Is she taking that thing?
I'm very shocked.
How did you feel when I first introduced Mark?
I'll be honest, it's kind of nerve-wracking.
You know,
Like,
one of
especially the
those things
condition that
has.
Mark has. Like, Mark is very different, and I'm not expecting for you to fall in love with him. Like, that's an honest,
I don't feel surprised.
It sounds like Chubby Friend is
one
a
of
little
one.
jelly.
I mean, not everyone can see hands like this, like in a normal day.
People are like,
Intimidated.
yeah, intimidated.
It was really difficult for me growing up, especially that all you want to do is to fit in with other children. I think when I was second grade, third grade, I see other children tying their own shoes. I wasn't able to do it. The night before the school, I always practice on tying my shoelaces just so I could fit in. It may look hard for me to wear clothes, but as much as possible, I don't ask Jelly to help me. The only thing that she really helps me out is just to wear the earrings. My fingers can't handle. But other than that, I mean, just wearing a watch.
What about buttoning the
my
pants?
shirt, wearing my pants. I mostly do it alone.
Wow, he can button his
How do
pants
you
alone.
handle like all of the bashers, like especially when you're going outside?
I know people who've had like 1 or 2 fingers amputated, where they had to have a little tool to help them button the pants. This guy, to be this independent, is it's saying something, man. This guy is outlasting the haters.
Social media.
At first, I was like very shy.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Conspiracy music is I'm wondering if she's had those things. Yeah.
Because I'm a person who's not used on people get stared at.
I mean, bashers would always be there. But for those people who really, got inspired by us, I think that's what we're really focused.
Finally, Jedi found the right one. That's what I can tell. Because even though Mark has this situation, but his heart is so big.
Growing up, I've always wondered whether I can have a family of my own. I just had a checkup, and having that assurance that having this condition can be passed on to my child. When I chop, it's hard, but at the same time, I was able to adapt to it. I can do it, but it's slower compared to normal. It's very important to me because I don't wanna make my family feel that they have to take care of me all the time. Even though I have this condition, I'm always be there, present to do.
I think I would have to try to have a
what
kid
most
anyway,
dads
even if it
do.
could be
I
passed
want my
on.
daughter to feel that despite having this, I'm still there for her.
He is a very amazing dad and also a very amazing partner. He always
does
takes
have
care
a
of
kid.
us, even though he
Okay.
has a condition. I love his
The child
uniqueness.
looks normal.
I love how he handled himself as a person, knowing even though he has that type of condition, he still managed to take care and always look for us.
I love
See, that's adorable.
how
That's fucking
strong
adorable.
she is, and I just love being with her every day. She's always there, beside me when I needed her the most. The message I have for the people who judge us is for them to be happy with their life as well.
So
the easiest thing we can do is just be kind to each other. You may see my
So I just want to stop here to say this is a little different. I'm used to Love Don't Judge, them being more online creators and them showing a lot more of the online hate messages that the hate mobs on the internet are giving these people. They haven't really showed a lot of that on this one. I'm wondering if their format's changing just a little bit. If they've realized they got a little formulaic over at the Love Don't Judge. Because, like I said, this is a newer episode. Usually I go further back into their archive. This is one of the newer episodes. It's only a month old.
condition as a problem, but for me it wasn't really. It's actually a blessing.
A blessing. He thinks of it as a blessing. All right. So a big thank you to Love Don't Judge over on YouTube. Feel free to check them out. Again, it's a lot of, feel good stories like this of people finding love and receiving hate online for it. And some of it's deserved, some of it's not. And I thought that was a feel good story. I think, they are definitely outlasting the haters, and, much happy future times to their young family. Love is what love is, man. You got to find love somewhere. And not everyone can, because not everyone's deserving of it. But, you make of life what you find. And thankfully that guy, regardless of looking like something straight out of a 1980s B movie, I mean, he made the most of his life and found a woman who cares for him and had a lovely child. And seems to be getting along to get along. All right, so that's going to do it for the show tonight. Go find somebody to raid over on the Rumble. Okay, live. Where's the live? It's been a while. Folks. I'm trying to. There it is. Live. View all. Definitely not doing Tim Castor Salty Cracker. They've got enough thousands of viewers. Let's go to page 4. We've got. Just making sure no one in the chat's making a recommendation. All right. Hey, we got Jim Tells You on there. I think I'll raid old Jim Tells You. Yeah, let's raid Jim Tells You. All right, so folks, 7 o'clock's probably going to be my my stream time from now on Wednesdays. So, yeah, I'm going to have to make some changes to my social media and my thumbnails and stuff to reflect that change. But yeah, I think 7 o'clock's going to be the go time on Wednesdays. Although I do need to make an announcement. I may not. I'm not going to be doing a stream next week. If you convince me, if you beg me, if you get on my Twitter and you like my stuff, ask me to do a show. I might be able to do one next Thursday, but I will not be available Wednesday at all. I'm going to be doing a project for my other social media ventures. So, not going to be doing a show next Wednesday, but future Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Yes, Conspiracy Music says, have a good night, everybody. Yes, definitely have a good night. Have a wonderful evening. And, yeah, stay strapped, folks, because, yeah, the stabbings will continue. These stories will continue. And as we saw, New York's a crazy place, and things just tend to continue down these paths because we don't have a real justice system in the United States of America. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, outlast those haters. Don't get any on you, and if you do, rub that shit in real good. I'll catch you next time on Miles Culture Plate. Have a wonderful evening. Oops. I just typed that into his chat instead of my own. Oops. I feel so silly. Oh, oops. I accidentally tapped it into his chat instead of my own. That I feel stupid. All right. Good night, everybody. And then I typed the link instead of raid. All right. There we go. Good night.